Good afternoon, everyone. It's 2 o'clock and the code board for the city of Tarpon Springs is called to order. Bobby, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Wade,
Present.
Mr. Weeks,
Here.
Ms. Telliar,
Here.
Ms. Archer. Here. Dr. Matea,
Here.
Mr. Ogle.
Here.
That completes your roll call.
Thank you very much. If you'd stand, please, we'll have an invocation and we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Heavenly Father, we seek blessings on the tasks before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. We pray that our work this afternoon will find favor in your sight. This we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before I forget, if you have a cell phone, please put it on silent. I'll explain the way the procedures work so everybody will understand. It is the intention of this board to promote, protect, and improve the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Tarpon Springs by providing an equitable, effective, and inexpensive method of enforcing various codes within the city of Tarpon Springs. Any aggrieved party may appeal a final administrative order of this board to the circuit court. Such appeal shall be filed within 30 days of the execution of the order to be appealed. Florida Statute 286.0105 requires any party appealing a decision of this board to have a record of the proceedings to support such an appeal. When the procedures start, the city will present its witnesses and exhibits, after which the alleged violator is able to ask that city's witnesses any specific questions regarding their testimony. Secondly, the alleged violator is allowed to make a presentation and present his or her witnesses and exhibits. Then the city can question the alleged violator's witnesses. After both rounds of testimony, both on the part of the city and on the part of the alleged violator, each party is asked to give a closing argument, first by the city and then by the alleged violator. After those three steps are taken, the board will close the public hearing portion of the case to discuss it and take appropriate action. Before we begin the public hearings, we'll have any potential witnesses stand and be sworn in by the secretary of the board. So if you're planning on testifying, we need to ask you to stand now, please, and raise your right hand. Bobby will give you the oath.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. On our agenda today, the first case is case number 24-800000028, Wesley G. King, 1400 Vintner Avenue, Tarpon Springs.
Hey, Mark, the projector's on, but it's not actually casting to the screen.
We're going to have a slight technical correction.
I thought he was just waiting to flip the switch till we went.
He has to come from upstairs in the booth, but he's here.
Just go to the HDMI. No.
So I think it's a And now if you start the slideshow, it should do it in the duplicate screen.
There we go. All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Good afternoon. My name is Mike Rolliston. I'm the Code Enforcement Officer for the Tarpon Springs Police Department. This is a homesteaded property. On February 7th, I investigated this property and it was initiated by a citizen's complaint. It is located at 1400 Ventnor Avenue. Upon arriving, I actually missed the house initially. I drove right by it due to the extreme overgrowth of the property. So our initial complaint was overgrowth, but as you can see, the house actually has some roof damage and other neglect problems going on. This picture was taken from the complainant's backyard. With her permission, I was on her property. So this is a thicket of plants. So we're in the backyard looking into, and that overgrowth is coming into her yard. And she's actually gonna speak to you here at the end of my presentation. She's paying to cut this back, and it just grows back within several months at a very high rate. It's also growing back over the rear property line into the parking lot of the condos behind it. This is just another picture of the overgrowth. I was able to make contact with the owner, Mr. King, and we had some concerns about the safety of the structure, so he arranged to allow myself and Deputy Building Official Keith Mead into the building, and we were able to inspect it to make sure that it was structurally sound, and he's also gonna be available for questions. There are several holes in the roof, which is allowing water to come in during rain. So our immediate concern is fire hazard, as water can get in and there could potentially short out electrical. This is another picture of that same hole. Another one here. So the deputy building official is here to answer any of your questions that you may have as to the condition of the house and what our concerns are, as he is an actual expert on buildings.
Hi, Keith Mead, Deputy Building Official, City of Tarpon Springs. I have been sworn. I visited this property twice, once just an exterior on response to a complaint. Did an exterior inspection, noticed a lot of overgrowth. Couldn't really see too much on the tree or on the roof because it was covered with overgrowth. So after code enforcement contacted the owner, he allowed us entry into the property inside the structure, and we noticed numerous penetrations in the roof where rain was getting in, causing structural issues. And there's also, the meter is still on the house, so it's still energized, which raises a concern because some of those holes are right on top of structural members that have wiring going across them. So the water's coming in direct contact with live wires, which is not a good combination.
Ask questions? Can we ask questions now?
We can do questions after they,
Oh, he stopped talking, so I thought he was through.
That's it for now. That's just my testimony in regards to what I witnessed on site.
Can we ask you questions?
we can do it, okay.
Is anyone living in it right now?
No, nobody's living in the house.
Do you know
This-
how long it's been?
I don't know how long it's been vacant. It appears quite some time just because of the condition of the inside. There's black mold throughout the house from water infiltration. It's very unsanitary and very unsafe.
This property, I just happen to remember, has been brought before us a number of years ago. Do you have the records of that? Is it the same owner?
Yes, it was, but that was outside of the time limit for a repeat violation. So those are not relevant to today's case. So we have those records, but no, I wouldn't present them as part of this because it's a completely new case moving forward.
I didn't know that it stopped once you had a violation. This was a repeat violator, but he's saying it was only the outside.
No,
That-
for,
Different violation
Okay.
for purposes of
Is it
repeat
the same
violation.
owner?
yes.
Okay.
But to clarify, to be a repeat violation, it has to come up within 5 years of, so those were, in the past, there were different violations, and it was several years ago. So this is a completely new case that we're bringing.
Understood. Thank you for clarifying that. Is anyone here to testify on the behalf of?
Well, I have a neighbor that would also wanted to speak from her perspective as the neighbor of the property,
Okay.
which would be part of my presentation.
But there's no one here for the property owner,
No, they are here as well.
okay? So which order, do we get the neighbor first, or do we get the property owner
Well, does
first?
the neighbor have any questions of the city? Excuse me, does the violator, alleged violator, have any questions for the city? The presentation that was given before the neighbor talks.
We would like to have you come forward if you don't mind, please.
Hello. I've been in Tarpon almost 70 years now. I've raised my family here.
Questions?
And my family
I'm
has
having a
died.
little trouble hearing
And my
you.
wife died,
Okay.
pardon.
We're just now having, you'll have a chance to present. Do you have any questions of the city?
Yeah, why can't I get a place to live and deed subsidized living when I qualify? For years, I've been trying for 2 years, I'd be out of the house and it would be
I
gone
understand,
now.
sir, totally irrelevant to the case at hand, I'm sorry. Right now, you get to ask the city questions. That's the procedure that we have to follow, and it isn't related to your other alternate housing. Yes, ma'am, could you tell me who you are, please?
I'm his daughter, Brenda Crosby. I'm under contract to purchase the residence from him and bring it into code compliance. We signed a contract on
Okay.
April
You're
29th.
going to be able to present
That's
anything you want to
okay,
say.
okay, that's-
Do you have any questions for the city?
No, I'm just.
Okay, then let us
looking
just finish the
forward to
presentation from the
today's-
city.
okay.
The neighbor would like to speak.
Okay, sure.
If you could go ahead and speak, and then you all can come up and give your presentation.
Just to follow the procedures, then everybody gets the same treatment.
And just as a final, for context, his daughter did contact me via email yesterday asking for an extension because she is trying to purchase the property. She asked for a 180-day extension, which I said I could not accommodate because we were going to the code board the next day. So,
Understood, thank you. Yes, ma'am, would you tell us who you are, please, your name and address?
My name is Jennifer Crotty. For 33 years, I have lived next door to 1400 Ventnor Avenue, the property owned by Mr. Wesley King. Our houses are built close together. The condition of his property has severely impacted my property at 1396 Ventnor Avenue. I believe that the market value of my house is decreased by the condition of my neighbors. On 2 occasions, I have had to deal with infestations of rats. On one occasion, I went out to investigate an unfamiliar sound in my backyard and found several cats surrounding a large rattlesnake, which then slithered under the fence into Mr. King's backyard. Swarms of mosquitoes make my yard unpleasant in the summer. Many objects in his yard retain water, forming a breeding ground for mosquitoes. I have made considerable investment in my home. The original house consisted of 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. An extension increased the house to 6 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. A screened pool in the backyard has been added. I strive to maintain my home in pristine condition, performing much of the yard and pool maintenance myself. I have witnessed with growing horror the overgrowth of the beach hibiscus emanating from Mr. King's backyard. On numerous occasions, I have appealed for help to the Code Enforcement Department. I was told that if the problem was not visible from the front sidewalk, it did not concern code enforcement. I was informed that I was permitted to cut the overgrowth back to the property line, but that I must not kill the tree. They suggested I recoup my costs from Mr. King in small claims court. Not only does the beach hibiscus grow rapidly to a potential height of 60 foot, it also produces copious numbers of seed pods. These pods split open, showering surrounding ground with seeds, which germinate and rapidly become new trees. The new saplings grow between the existing trunks, combining with the original trees to form a dense thicket. These saplings have the ability to weave through the myriad of trunks, finally emerging above the canopy, 60 foot up. I have been dismayed to discover that, because these saplings are long and thin, the wind and rain found my backyard buried under a tangle of beach hibiscus limbs hanging so low that I have not been able to stand up beneath them. The beach hibiscus has not only overgrown the property at 1400 Ventnor Avenue, but also my property, including my fence, deck, and oak trees. It is threatening the roof of my house. Each year, I have had the lower branches professionally trimmed using ladders and pole saws. On 2 occasions, I have employed Bowen's Tree Service to use their lift trucks to cut back both the upper and lower branches to the property line. The first occasion was in about 2014. The lift truck used the service road at Sunset Shores. The section of the fence was removed to allow transportation of branches from my backyard. The beach hibiscus was cut back to the property line of both Sunset Shores and my property. The overgrowth, which is of great concern to the Condo Association at Sunset Shores, has occurred since this drastic cutback. The second occasion was in February this year, 2024. Bowen said they were unable to move the arm of the lift truck through the dense foliage from the service road at Sunset Shores. A compact vehicle, which extended when situated in my backyard, allowed a tree trimmer to reach the branches up to 60 foot high. The foreman at Bowen's explained that they retained a network of sturdy tree trunks along the property line. The goal was to form a supportive structure and discourage the tall, thin saplings from toppling over onto my property. I am reveling in the additional light and enjoying my lawn and shrubs, which are thriving as a result of the removal of the beach hibiscus overgrowth. Like a Medusa, however, new growth is sprouting from the ends of the cut branches. The monster is hungry for sunlight and rapidly regrowing. Every day, I spend hours weeding out seedlings sprouting from the beach hibiscus seeds. I bag the numerous seed pods and large leaves which litter my backyard, threatening to smother my lawn and plants. And I have a baggie with the large leaves and the seed pods to show you. I am convinced that if I were less vigilant in containing this forest, my home would be overtaken and my property would eventually be in the same condition as Mr. King's. I believe the beach hibiscus must be totally eradicated, not merely cut down. Any remaining roots and seeds have the potential to regrow and envelop the surrounding properties. The fire hazard has been acknowledged. I am concerned that the danger is amplified by the presence of my 250-gallon propane gas tank situated beside the outer wall, close to Mr. King's house. The tank shares a wall with my master bedroom. When I planned my retirement, I did not anticipate spending my retirement funds on the overgrowth of my neighbor's trees. I believe I should be allowed to enjoy my home free of this financial burden and not live in fear of fire and destruction of my property. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I show you the
I have a question for the city. When it says duty to maintain private property, does vegetation, is that even addressed today?
Well,
The primary thing we're here for is the whole of
the
the roof.
immediate is the safety of the electrical, but yes, the vegetation is a nuisance condition as well, and is contributing to the fire threat to the property. So we're asking for a complete, to whoever is going to try to purchase this property, it's gonna be quite a project to bring it into compliance, so I would imagine they're gonna have a plan to lay out to the board today, and that'll be up to you to determine what an appropriate timeline is to bring this into compliance.
I just want to make sure, to cite the 840 duty to maintain private property, does that ordinance include this?
Yes, because it's a nuisance condition.
Okay, I understand about the unsafe structure, but I wanted to clarify. And
Another hand.
and are you with the homeowner, or are you with the homeowner or with the city and the neighbors?
City and the neighbor.
All righty. Would you like to make some testimony, sir?
If I could, please. I have just a couple questions.
We can't hear you from there. We need you to give your name and address before you start talking, please.
Were you sworn in?
No, I have not been sworn in.
All right,
Deb,
Bobby
you
will
sworn
swear
in.
you in. Thank you.
You raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give us the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Your name and address, please?
My name is Glenn Loving, 1410 Sunset Road, Tarpon. My question is this. I know you were talking about the overgrowth in the existing vegetation. I do have concerns with the part of the property with a large dead tree laying across the sidewalk. I cross that sidewalk multiple times a day. My wife does multiple times a day. Also, my son does at least once a day, maybe 5 times when he runs around the neighborhood. The tree is completely uprooted. It's completely dead. It's laying completely across the sidewalk, and it has been for 2 years that I've been in that neighborhood. My concern is laying on a 3-inch diameter branch. So it wouldn't take much of a wind to blow that tree. It's a brown tree right there by the driveway. You can't miss it. Blow it down and cause a safety impact either on anybody, civilian, walking through there, or it's long enough to reach into the road to throw into a car. So my concern is this. I know Mr. King did a wonderful job cleaning the vegetation out the front of his yard, but what is the requirement for the safety across that sidewalk, and is there a code for that?
There is a code, and now that you've brought that up as a concern, I will have
Excuse me, I'm sorry, you can't, you
You have
can't
to
go
always
again.
speak from the podium so we can record everything.
So again, I wasn't here 2 years ago. This is my first crack at this property. So I will have I can reach out to the city arborist and she can go out and make that determination. And if she says it is a risk, we can address that. And it would be another hearing, but we can bring that forward, yes.
It's just for the safety, because there's a lot of teenagers running through that neighborhood now. Like I said, I'm going through the neighborhood too, and I don't want anybody, a good strong wind blows, boom, it's on the ground. And I do know, because I lived in the Virgin Islands for 2 years, I do know what wind can do to trees.
I'll have it looked at by the arborist.
Sir, have you made a formal complaint to
No,
the city?
ma'am, I have
That
not
might
made
be
a formal
helpful for
complaint,
us
but
all.
when I saw the posting, I said, let me come up here and just voice my concern. That's all I'm doing. He's trying. I know he cleaned the front yard up, and I respect that and I appreciate that. But, you know, that tree was left there for whatever reason. And my second thing is, being a former general contractor, what is the time frame you're looking at to enforce the code violation on the house? Because it's going to be a whole lot longer than 180 days to repair it.
Thank you. This is to be a time for questions and
Right.
not presenting a
Well,
whole
I was
other
wondering, because
issue.
there was a, you know, with the
Go
code.
stop
so
you there. Thank you.
My apologies.
No, just so you know, you'll hear a recommendation from the city.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Is anyone else wishing to testify on the city's behalf? At this time, are you with this case?
Yes,
And you're on the side, testifying for the complainant,
for the homeowner.
for the homeowner?
Actually, for the new owner.
Okay, we're gonna start, we'll switch it over to that side.
Okay.
And the homeowner should present himself, and we don't know who any of you are and what your relationship to this property is. And we need to confirm that you're just not somebody from nowhere coming in to talk. Mr. King is seated, correct? Yes. Thank you. And ma'am, who are you and what's your relation to this
I'm
property?
his daughter, Brenda King Crosby. I remarried, but my last name is Crosby.
Where do you live?
217 Maple Ave in Palm Harbor.
Okay. And sir, you're wishing to testify as well?
Ask questions of
I-
her. I'll answer anything she can answer.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't have a plan. I mean, we're trying to take over and get in compliance. The first thing we're gonna do is go in and clean trees so we can even see what we're looking at. I gave my dad until, you know, he had opportunity to get things into compliance. It didn't happen, so I had to basically take control and purchase, and it's just gonna have to either be structurally demolished, I'm not sure yet, until we get a couple of eyes on there. It's his property right now, so technically I can't, you know, have anybody go in and look, but we're under contract dated April 29th to purchase it. And as long as they're waiting on this hearing today to pass clear title and anything, and then they'll have a closing and we'll start like within a week. I don't know how long it's gonna take. It's gonna take a while. I mean, it's a mess. I lived there my whole life. I was born there. So, anything else that?
If I could just add, my name's Dirk Henderson. I live at 195 East Canal Drive. Been a long-time Pinellas County resident. I have a business out here on the north side of Tarpon Springs. I've been in the area for a long time. Brendan and I have got a long-term relationship
Can
together.
you speak into the microphone? Thank you.
I've stepped forward here with Brenda and Wesley to help facilitate the sale of this property from Wesley to Brenda. And our intent is to make this sale as seamlessly as possible, but we're really looking forward to get clean title passed from Wesley to Brenda. And right now, we've got a closing that's, everything looks like it's gonna go smoothly with the exception of the hearing that's going on here today that would possibly encumber the title and the closing. So I'm asking everyone at Code here today if they would please give us some consideration. And I think we can make some huge changes in this place in the next 180 days to bring it into compliance.
Do you have a question for them? I do. Are you gonna resell this property?
Our goal is to hang on to it. Brenda grew up there. So whatever it takes to bring it in compliance. I don't know that the structure is gonna be savable, but we need
And
some,
we always have concerns. Is Mr. King trying to live in this place now? Is anyone in there?
No.
no, it's not livable.
And how have you secured the property to make sure that people don't just go in there and stay? Squatters?
It's locked.
It's private property
It's
and
private
locked.
property.
Locked
Locked.
except for the holes in the roof and the walls.
Well, I guess if a squatter wants to climb through the roof, you know, if we can get this property transferred without a lot of extra code violations put on it that would uncover this transaction, we'll strip the roof off, we'll tarp it, we'll secure it, we'll get it secured. If you'd like it detailed, bullet points or something, we can come back. I'm a business owner, I'm used to getting things done. I think in 6 months, we can get a long way down the road.
I hear that, but I happen to know that when we had this property prior, although the outside was cited, there were roof issues more than 5 years ago, and that makes me concerned about.
Yeah, no, I realize that.
Yes.
None of us was involved with this 5 years ago. We know it's down to a do or die. Wesley realizes that. That's why we're all here today. We're just trying to move. Obviously, this should have been addressed months ago, years ago. We're trying to get this moved forward, like I said, without a bunch more encumbrances on the title so we can pass clear title to Brenda, which we're in the process of doing that, you know, pending the outcome of this meeting today.
What is your closing date? You have a closing date?
The closing date will be set as soon as we get all the lien release requirements back from the city of Tarpon, and there's one or two down there with Pinellas County.
What are you thinking?
Within 30 days.
Okay.
We're down here at Anklo Title. I think a lot of people got a relationship with them.
Makes me very uncomfortable, but
I have a question.
please.
Have you looked at mold remediation or what it would take to actually make the structure or to ensure the structure is safe to even get inside?
It's 1,000 square foot. The people I've talked to about demolition contractors, they bring in heavy equipment, push it over and put it in a dumpster and it's gone.
I don't believe, I can't say that. I'm not legal.
I'm hearing demolition and I'm hearing roof repairs.
Well, we're just going to try to dry the roof up. You know, I know they're talking about taking the electricity away. If they need to, we'll comply with the electricity being disconnected. If we could dry the roof up in the meantime, in the short term, so we could still have some electricity at the place, that would help facilitate with tree removal and cleanup. If we don't have power there, we'll go without it. But, you know, if we dry up the roof, we'd like to keep the power on. If not, we'll comply with the city, whatever they want to do. If they want to pull the power, we can pull the power. We'll bring generators over.
And then we've heard neighbors' concerns about not just the home and its structure, but about the vegetation surrounding it. And we don't want to keep hearing from neighbors.
There's a new owner, I'm sorry to interrupt. There's no more dad owning it. It's changed as of this closing. I mean, and we'll be
We
cleaned up.
understand this has been a sad.
My mom passed away 2 years ago. No one's been there since then, so that's why it is the way it is.
Say that again?
My mother passed away at the house 2 years ago, and 2 years and 2 months ago, and my father came to stay with me then, and it still has been since.
He's
It's been
staying with you now?
It's been a rough situation, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been going on a long time.
He won't be
What are-
going back to get
so-
anything else.
City is requesting that we find them in violation.
So in light of this information that they're trying to purchase it and turn over a new era, I'm not unopposed to giving them that opportunity, but I leave that to the board to determine what you feel is an appropriate time. We can keep the violation in place, and if you want to give them a timeline, whatever that is, I don't know, you would pick it. And we go out and inspect, and if, you know, in 45 days, they've hacked down everything and it's an active project, we can address it. And if nothing happens, the fines start. But I leave that up to the board as to what you feel is an appropriate grace period. But I would like to see it in violation.
I understand, I think the board has no problem with that. We're gonna be having issues with, I'm hearing 30 days to close, and then another 30 days to correct it, and that's where we need some guidance.
I think this is one of those cases where you need to have updates. And if you were to find a violation and maybe set it for 45 days to make sure the closing has occurred, because these people are telling you that they're going to do something, but until they get control, they can't do anything.
Correct.
So we need to at least know that they have gotten control. If they haven't gotten control by 45 days, that may be the implementation of the fine. Let's assume they have control, then they can come back and give us a more solid timeline so that we know when everything will be taken care of. So that, you know, the problem that I would say that you would have is that we can't give 180 days today.
That's right.
Because if they don't get control over it, then it's just gonna get worse.
And everything's grown back over in their yard.
That's why you may want to find a violation, give them, set it for 45 days for the city to determine that a closing has occurred, then ask them to come back.
Then realistically, that means 60 because we've
Right.
missed a meeting.
They come back in 2 meetings to give us an outline of their timeline.
But in the meantime, shouldn't they secure the property? I mean,
Well, from what I understand.
We have a contract on the
Right.
property.
The property is secured. You're right. Can somebody climb over on the roof and get in? yes, that's, when we look at security, we're looking to make sure that kids can't get into the house. Somebody could get hurt.
I know what that
A
back
fire.
door is.
So we're gonna, so you could tell them that we would like you to block those holes in the meantime. I mean, you can ask them to do that. But I would think until they can get control, it's very hard for them to give us a solid time period.
Anybody else have questions? You feel like
Mike
you've made your case? You
Mike
comfortable?
does.
Okay.
The deputy building official, Keith, would like to say something.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, just a couple of things. Number one, we are going to request Duke Energy to pull the meter on the house and roll back the power because it is a fire hazard. And with the rainy season coming up, there's going to be water all over the place, and we don't want to risk that because of the overgrowth. That will catch on fire, which will affect the surrounding properties as well.
Mark, were there any other points?
Talking to the mic.
No, I didn't see anything around the perimeter. There was one broken window in the back, but it was inside of a screened enclosure.
Windows, things like that?
No, all the doors and
Janet.
windows were intact.
Need to talk into the mic so we all can hear.
Okay,
All the,
go ahead.
all the doors and windows were intact. The only penetrations were in the roof, and if somebody's brave enough to climb up on that roof, then they went in there pretty bad. And also, I would also recommend if we pull the power and they take care of the overgrowth immediately, which can be done within 30 days, then they can come up with a plan to, either demolish or rebuild, those types of things.
Legally, the person that has to do that clearing that he's speaking of is the owner, but since it's in the family, they're gonna have to work that out, but I think we can require that. And
Right, you can, obviously, anything you say goes towards the owner. However, I think they understand that to
family.
get any leniency from this board, the biggest concerns are obviously you getting ownership, and number two, getting all those overhang, the trees from the neighbors, get that away from the neighbor's yard, clean that up. If you're then coming back for this board and asking for additional time, they have to see you doing something.
Absolutely.
that was well said, thank you. It looks like we have one more question.
How long has this been going on?
I can only speak to my time as a code enforcement officer. So I became aware of it on February 7th. As I understand, there's history to this property and cases way in the past. But as far as I'm concerned, since February 7th, since I became aware of it, so that's why I'm here addressing it to the board today.
No, I understand that's your personal experience. What my question is, to the city of Tarpon Springs, how long have the situation been going on?
There were cases beyond 5 years ago, but that's not relevant to this case because it's not a repeat violation.
So we're to believe that all of the situations that you've shown us in the photographs have occurred between February and now?
No, but that's all we can present as evidence.
Because no one has complained, is that why?
We can't speculate as to when time periods occurred, and the city is looking at the violations as they exist upon observation. Obviously, it's been there a lot longer, but you can't penalize them for that because we didn't bring it before you until now.
And no one has complained beforehand, apparently.
There were previous
For
complaints
February.
that that was addressed. That case was
But she
closed
had-
way back then.
Yeah, the city has had other cases, but that's not what we're addressing today. I can't testify to another code enforcement officer's case.
If there are no other questions, would someone on the board like to make a motion, please? Or do you feel like you want to discuss it further?
I'd like to discuss this a little bit further. I'd like to ask the witness, who was the complainant, how many times in the last 5 years have you,
She's got to talk to the mic.
could you go up
Would
to
you
the
please go up to
podium,
the mic?
please?
Yes.
And please, if you have any dates, that would
I have complained repeatedly, and each time I was told by the code enforcement officer this was not a code enforcement. As I said, they told me that if you stand on the sidewalk in front of the property and you don't see the problem, that there is no code enforcement problem.
And I would disagree with that statement, hence why, when it was brought to my
It's
attention,
the first time we've
we're
had
here.
any action at all.
And you realize he's a new code enforcement person?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'm very,
But-
very grateful.
Do you know any dates where you've done that in the last 5 years?
You know, if I'm told that it's not a code enforcement
have a
issue,
date.
you know, what can I? I've reported within the last in fact, 2 years ago, I reported to code enforcement that tree which is overhanging the sidewalk.
Yes.
I was actually in my front yard and I saw the code enforcement truck come in, put its nose into the driveway. She looked at the tree, backed out, and that was the last I heard of it. So,
Okay,
you know,
thank you.
there's no, to say that it's my fault that I didn't
No,
follow.
no,
we're not
through
saying
on
that
it,
at all.
you
No,
know.
not at all.
Nobody's saying.
I
No,
just,
but no, that's not at all
No,
what
I'm
we're
just-
saying.
um,
We're just trying to get a handle if you had called other times and how far back it went
Yeah.
for our own knowledge.
yeah, it's been ongoing.
Okay.
The fence which divides the property has deteriorated to such an extent, and he has heaped old dishwashers, bicycles,
I know.
containers of heaven knows what's in the chemical in it against the fence. It's now fallen down. I got a company out and asked if they would replace the fence. They said that only that they, you know, they would contract with me, but only if all of that debris was moved out of the way.
Thank you
And-
much. That's all we needed to know. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Maybe you need a minute to think, and then if you'd like to make a motion.
It's in the case file.
Do you want to, we need
Advice.
to accept the documents from the city.
And do you have any objection to us entering these documents that the city gave, the pictures and?
No, you asking us? No, we have no problem with that.
Okay, thank you.
So for the record, it'll be accepted.
That was not Mr. King that spoke. I should get it directly from him.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
They've said they're representing it.
Okay.
So the record can reflect that the documents from the city are accepted as evidence.
Thank you.
Talking about submitting pictures as evidence, are you okay with that? We left them in the house.
How much time do we give?
He was suggesting 45.
I'm inclined to go 30. If it misses a meeting.
And which sounds terrible, but she's already put up with it 5 years. At least we're giving some date to it.
Right, yeah. So 45 days puts it.
But we can't start fining until,
Well, you have to give some period of time no matter what. The question is whether you want to tier this to a situation of, yes, we find there's a violation, you have, like I suggested, you have 45 days to close on the property and notify the city of the closing. 2 months, we want to have a update here as to what is being done in the timeline. So there's, if not, hypothetically, if nothing's being done, you could implement the fine on that meeting, or you can see what's being done, as they have been told exactly what you're looking for. So in order to even ask for additional time, they have to clear up that area to show that they're working with the city. So you could do a motion like that, find the violation, and then implement that the closing needs to occur within 45 days, and to notify the code inspector, and to set it for the July meeting
Yeah,
for an update.
yeah.
Question. If, I mean, it looks like a jungle out there. If there's something that's hanging over that's gonna cause a problem, you know, somebody's gonna get hurt or with her, things hanging over her yard. Another thing is the fire hazard that you mentioned. Shouldn't something be done now?
The only concern that we have is that I think you've received testimony that the individual who owns the house cannot do anything or is incapable of doing anything to do what you're asking. So that's why we're finding out about the closing, so that these two individuals can come in and handle that as soon as they have the authority to do so. They've testified that they can't do anything until they get ownership.
We're also gonna have Duke pull that meter out immediately, so
And that will help.
that will take the live power out of the house, so.
The city has the authority to do that without this?
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, if the city determines that there is a emergency safety hazard, we can authorize somebody to come in and take care of that. I don't think they're at that position. Obviously, if nothing's done within the 45 days, then we're in a different position.
Just to clarify that situation, there is a code in the Florida Building Code. If we find a immediate life safety issue or immediate fire hazard, we have the authority to pull the utilities. So we will send Duke a power disconnect tomorrow, and usually it takes them about 3 days to come out and disconnect the power. They'll pull the meter, and I'm gonna request that they roll back, because it's overhead service, that they roll that back all the way back to the pole, so there's no live electricity anywhere near the house.
Good.
Is there any
And
mechanism?
that will be immediately.
Is there any mechanism we have? I know 45 days, we pretty much have all said 45 days, but even in the 45-day period, I almost feel like this is a situation where we would need them to come to the June meeting just to give us a report of where they're at.
You could ask them to do that.
Yeah, I really think,
You could find a violation and say, we'd like to put this on the June agenda
Yes.
for an update, so
Yes.
we could determine whether or not we're gonna implement a fine, or, I mean, that's fine.
That sounds like a great idea.
you know, I mean, I think accountability is actually
I think this is
coming
one where you wanna keep
Accountability going.
understanding what's going on, to be fair to the neighbors. That
Absolutely.
something is moving
Absolutely.
forward, because the worst scenario would be, we come back and nothing has happened, and
right.
there's no movement, and they were in the
Absolutely.
same position
Yeah.
or worse position than they were before.
Because the end goal here, remember, we want to fix this problem, so we want to work with it and get a solution rather than just, well,
Right.
Bumping it down
bump
the
it,
road
and
like's
then
happened to her for all this
we
time.
can find somebody into oblivion, but if nothing occurs.
Right.
So we want to get relief for these neighbors, so I'm leaning towards, we work with them and set benchmarks, because we want to see this property improved.
Julie,
I-
Julie,
Okay.
I think we should give them
Julie?
30 days and then
Julie.
fine them and have them come to the next.
Give another
Julie.
question.
Down here, please.
Down there?
Yes, sir.
could I ask the city one additional question?
Speak. Mike,
It's on, sorry. Could I ask the city one additional question for the building inspector? In addition to having the meter pulled, do you know if the water service is turned off at that property?
I'm not aware if it is or is not.
Would that pose,
There's no water service.
okay,
Okay, and if it is a well,
okay.
once you pull the electricity, then there will be no water
Or anything
for the well,
going.
from the well either, so.
well, but if
right,
they
that's
pull
fine.
electricity, that
I just
did
wanted
the
to make
well.
sure it wasn't city water.
Okay. Everybody have their questions answered? Or you look like you've got one more.
I feel like I want to make a,
How hard is it to mow this thing down, keep the building up, secure it? This doesn't take that long, does it?
It's a lot.
it's a lot.
The backyard is not going to be just mow it down. That's going to be a significant,
I'm not saying mow it down. I'm saying bring jackhammers, whatever it takes. Get in there and get that crap out of there, stuff out of there.
No.
I think we've
No.
closed the public
Reg-
portion
Yes,
of
we
it
did.
at this point. I'm sorry.
regardless, the current owner, Mr. King, is going to be incapable of doing any of that. So that's why
Your king can't do it. No.
And it's
I'm
his
not
property.
saying he has. It's his property, but he has the authority to get somebody in there to cut it down.
I don't believe he would have the financial ability to do it.
And that's where you end up, at a dead end.
Okay, let's have a,
And then another lien would get put on it for them to buy it, and that's just gonna take
And
longer.
that's what we're trying to avoid is he's incapable or unwilling, however you want to look at it, to address the issue.
Unable, yeah.
Then we put a lien on the property, then he's unable to sell it, and it sits here for another however many years. I'm looking for the fastest path to success, is how I'm viewing it.
So does everybody, I think. Thank you.
let's vote.
Okay. Want to make a stab at it?
I would. I move that in case one, which is case number, let me just give you the number, 24800000028, to find the respondent, Wesley King, in violation of the City of Coppin Springs Code of Ordinances, Section 8-40, 8-52, and Florida Building Code 116.1 for the property located at 1400 Ventnor Avenue, and to assess a fine of $250 a day to commence at 30 days, so by the next meeting, which would be in June, but that this would be considered okay, that you would have met a benchmark if in fact the property was moving forward with sale. You had a date, a closing, or the sale had taken place, that the structure was secure, and that some effort was beginning to take all the vegetation away.
Second.
Can I just ask
Gotta
for a
clean that up a little bit.
clarification?
Yeah,
I know you said the
cleaning
fine,
up.
the fine to start in 30 days.
Yes.
And then you said the other conditions. So would it be okay if we put in, the fine will start in 30 days, however, it can be placed in abeyance if those conditions that you talked about are met?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm
And then the
not
board
married
can
to it.
consider that at their next meeting
Yes.
as to any additional time period?
Yes,
And can we
absolutely.
compel them to come to the next meeting?
Well, you can tell them they should. If they don't, then the fine will be
Yes.
probably implemented, so I would think that they would show up.
It would be in their
Best interest.
Right.
best interest. Are we clear on what this motion is? Bobby,
Is
have you
everybody
got enough
okay with that?
information to put it in the minutes? The fine is gonna start in 30 days.
Unless this board puts it in abeyance based on the, meeting that other criteria.
At that next meeting. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Dr. Makaya?
Yes.
Mrs. Archer?
Yes.
Mrs. Telliar?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Ms. Wade?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Do you want to try to summarize that one?
Okay, summary of what the board's done. There was finding of a violation, and you have, basically, you need to come to the next meeting because they'll implement the fine in 30 days unless you can give an update as to when it's gonna be purchased or closing, and what plans you have to take care of first the neighbor's issue, and then subsequently the rest of the issues on the property. So if you come and can give that information, then what will happen is the board will then consider where you are and what you need. You could give a little more definitive time period. If it's possible, the suggestion from the board would be if you could do anything to get some of that property away from the neighbors in the meantime, that would be looked at very positively by the board.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your consideration. Once again, my biggest hurdle to making this deal close is more fines from the city. So I appreciate the abeyance for the time
We're
being.
not here to fine, we're here for
Right.
compliance.
I figured you are here for
The fining is
compliance.
because people don't comply.
Yeah, absolutely.
We appreciate your getting involved in this.
Thank you.
Good luck to you. Thank you. Our next case is case 24-800000057, Nancy S. White, Living Trust. This is 533 Dort Court. Is there anyone here for that case? Thank you. If you'd like to come to the microphone, the city's going to present its case. Do you have any objections to the city's evidence being presented?
Not at all.
Thank
I'm
you.
aware of it.
Thank you.
right,
I'll
I'm gonna
identify you after he gets started.
So I'm going to just submit these.
Okay.
We don't know who she is yet.
This way, is this one where there's any discussion as a resolution? Has there been any discussion with the city about resolving this matter?
I think that my statement will.
We've had some
will reveal
communication
that.
back.
I have talked with Officer Ralston, Corporal Boone, and their associate New multiple times so that I am being as compliant and as concerned about this as I could possibly be.
Okay, then we could just, you could truncate the presentation just to what you feel is the important parts.
Yeah, there's really not even anything up here. In that folder is just all the ownership, tax records, all that, and then I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. This case was initiated by the city water department. I was contacted on March 20th by Heather Frundell that their staff had found a illicit hookup to the city sewer, and they determined that was from the residents at 533 Doric, and they're here to explain to you how they found that and what their process is. I made contact with the property owner, Ms. Waite. She had already paid to the city her tap fee, her impact fee, and the deposit for a total of $2,356 have been paid to the city. Her issue is that she is disputing the $500 penalty fee. I explained to her the process.
And the 350 double tap fee.
Hang on, sorry.
I'm just.
Hang on.
Let him finish.
So I explained to her the code enforcement process and how it would work if she came before the board, that you guys would hear everything and then decide we agree with you or no, and give her a date to complete paying the rest of her money owed to the city. So if you have any questions for our water department as to how they found this connection.
If you'll identify yourself for us, please.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Raymond Page. I'm the utility superintendent for the city, and I'd be willing to answer any questions that you have.
How did you find this?
Just adjacent to this property, there was a new home construction going on, so our city staff went out to the manhole located in front of the property in order to install a sewer line for the new home that was being constructed. And our staff, you know, this is a very small town. They've been in every manhole in the city, and they opened the manhole and discovered a pipe that they realized shouldn't be there. Traced it back, and it was determined that it was the line coming from 533. I will say this, it was obvious that this line was established prior to, I believe, this lady taking ownership of the home. I, in my heart, don't think she had any knowledge of an illegal connection on the property or anything like that. But unfortunately, the way the code reads, it's just a simple factual statement. The only thing that I can say in relationship to this is, in the past, the city has literally gone back and they have the ability legally to charge for all of the services that were rendered during that time period, which that would be a significant amount of money. My recommendation to the board would be that, you know, if this was a culpable individual that deliberately went out and did this, I think there's a little wiggle room on that back charge, and that might be a time when you would choose to say, no, we are going to back charge you. In this case, I truly don't think, you know, that these individuals had anything to do with this. They're really a victim of circumstance to a certain degree. If I bought a home in good faith and I did my title search and all that good stuff, I would not be happy to find out that my sewer connection was illegal from day one, and the contractor who built this home deliberately did that and sold it to me like that. I feel that's what's happened here. So I don't think there's a lot of room but I could be wrong, the code board could supersede all that. But the way the code reads, it's this double the tap fee, and it's the $500 additional fee for any illegal connection. But I would recommend that we wouldn't really pursue the back fee for the sewer charges that this resident generated due to the fact that I really don't think they knew it. I hope that makes sense.
Yes.
And do you know how long that they've occupied this home?
Well, I believe they've lived there for 3 years, bought the property in 2021, and I do know that this house is older than that, and that this line was most likely installed at the time the home was built. So it was definitely before they took
And
ownership.
no one ever paid sewer in all
No,
that
ma'am.
time?
No, ma'am.
Or nor has she for that 3 years?
No.
Okay. Do you have this point, you get to ask questions, then you get to make your case. Do you have a question for the city?
My only question would be, how in the world did you not know? Because something like that, from the distance from my house to the lift station at Chesapeake and Riverside,
It's quite a distance, I agree.
is a huge distance, and to have that happen under cover of darkness is
Well,
almost
here's-
beyond
yeah,
my belief.
And I really cannot answer to exactly how that occurred there, but if anybody lives in this city and you drive around anywhere, there is construction citywide. To stop at every project and make sure, there's a process for this. At some point, the general contractor is taking an oath of honesty that they're not gonna do these things. Whoever did that knew exactly what they were doing.
I'm sure.
It was a deliberate act. It was not an accident. It's not like they forgot to pay. It's a real thing. I hope you're gonna appreciate where I stand with this. I don't think you guys did this. I know that you guys did not do this. There's
We
requirement, but yeah, so any
What do
other
they
questions I'd be happy to answer. And I feel like I'm rambling on.
What happens?
Now, if you're finished with questions, you get to make your case.
My name is Nancy White. This is my husband, David. We closed on the house at Doric Court, 533 Doric Court, on February 27th, 2021, and we took possession of the property that very day. Moved in gradually after that. Just a little background on the two of us. We came from Michigan. My husband said when he retired, no more snow. So here we are. My husband is an upstanding businessman who actually taught ethics to the Michigan Association of CPAs on multiple occasions. I have volunteered at my church, raised my kids, raised our kids through a Christian school. To be associated with a house that has been an anathema to Tarpon Springs on many occasions, we learned very, very gradually. In response to that, I happen to have a nephew who's an Orthodox priest. We came and had him bless the house. He went through the whole thing. and we're the kind that puts up on the wall, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. I really, really liked that you opened with an invocation. I really, really like Tarpon Springs and the St. Nicholas Cathedral just brooding over the whole city, showing us that we are...
Now, let's keep it relevant to the facts
So
of the case,
it is
if you don't mind,
anathema to
please.
us that we would discover this horrible thing as somebody showed up, and said, here's a code violation. And we had no... now I can show you, with your permission, this is a picture of the tanks and next to the garage.
You feel this is relevant to the case and should be accepted into the evidence?
Mike.
What is this a picture of?
The septic tank covers, which are very old, and the location of it next to the garage, where I believe the septic field used to be before the prior owner took possession of the house, because for a while I believe the builder of the house lived there.
That was my question. You went all this time with no sewer bill, and where did you think it was going?
As a septic tank person who knows what a septic tank does, and I have a septic tank in our home up north, Michigan, the tank and the septic field are always on the same property. So the septic tank disposes its contents to the field, where it then disintegrates and
I know
goes
how it
on.
works.
So that's why I didn't have any questions about
The
not
house
having.
in this photo yours?
Sorry?
We, is that house in this photo yours?
The garage is on our property, and yes, it is.
And those covers that we see are on your property?
Yes.
Thank you.
So we knew it was disclosed to us at closing, or when we bought the house, that there was a septic system, and and that's all we were told. And that didn't faze us because
I understand.
we're familiar. And we had no expectation of it being anywhere else or going anywhere else.
Got it.
So when you buy a sophisticated house with indoor plumbing, you expect the system was correctly permitted construction and run according to city ordinances. So he never disclosed the illegality of the tanks to us, nor did his realtor, nor did the title insurance company have any awareness of it, probably because there was never a permit.
Did you have an inspection done of the property?
Yes, we did. But they didn't put cameras down the tubes, you know, or wherever it was they discovered it. By circumstance, because of the wonderful people who are building across the street from us. So, as I mentioned, it boggles my mind that it was all accomplished on the down low. I personally suspect that it was probably done when the garage was constructed, which was somewhat significantly newer than the house, and may have been sitting on a septic field. But that's just my supposition. I can't prove it without
Then let's
subpoenas.
not put it in the testimony.
Sorry, yes. So I'm just thinking with heavy equipment as the garage was constructed, off it went. So I'm here before you today to tell you what the water guy told you, and that we are not the perpetrators of this situation. We are the victims. I have been told that the sewer fees are not metered and only apply to the water because there's something in the document that was given to me that it would be doubled from then on. But I'm told there's no meter on the sewage.
No, ma'am, we don't measure what comes out, we just measure what goes in.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. So the letter reads, any person who is tapped into or taps into the public water sewer system of the city without paying the fees shall be charged, and then there's a whole list of fees. I am not that person. I had no knowledge of it being done, and because I'm the property owner, however, I was assured that I am indeed responsible for this. I have been caught in the net of someone else's doing. Hosea 8:7 says, for they sow the wind and they shall reap the whirlwind. In this particular case, I did not sow the wind, but I'm reaping the whirlwind. And I'm asking for your mercy and your grace and fairness for the situation in which I find myself. As they had mentioned, I have already paid the double tap fee, which I'm hoping to get credit back for, the $350 that was. I have already paid the impact fee. I've already paid the deposit. The only thing I haven't paid is the $500 penalty because I don't believe I should be penalized for what the former owner did and kept a secret in the transference of this property. If he had revealed it to us, we would not have closed until that had been remedied.
Thank you. I have one question for the city. If you had to give an average, I know what my sewer bill is every month, just an average,
Somewhere
sort of
around
based on
$50
the
a
number
month.
square feet-ish.
It'd be somewhere around $50 a month.
About how much?
$50 a month, somewhere in that
$50 a month,
neighborhood.
thank you.
Yes.
Anybody else have questions?
And again, if there was a septic tank, there was no reason for me to think that I was getting away with something. I do pay the
understand.
water.
I understand. Nobody's saying you did. If you have any questions for the city, or does the city have a question for her?
Have we been cooperative?
Oh, yes, yes. I don't understand any issue with cooperation from you folks.
They've been very,
I had two comments, and I didn't know if it was appropriate to say, just to add in, the photo that was submitted, that truly is a standard septic tank cover assembly. That is what you would expect to see on a septic tank assembly in a property like that. And during a title search, no title search person will open that up and search down what's inside there. And if you were to open the lid, it's just gonna be full of black liquid. So
Yeah,
you would not know there's any apparatus in there.
I don't think anybody's suggesting that they did any of this purposefully.
Right,
Thank
but,
you.
but to answer the question of why would they not suspect, why am I not getting a sewer bill? That photograph truly is, that's what a septic tank
I
would
get
do.
it. Anybody else have a question?
You have any other questions
The
for me?
city's made a recommendation, and it's in your folders under tab 2.
This is a bit of a unique situation. This
They
is
say
not-
that every time.
Yeah, so this is one where really any kind of fine is to pay the amount that's already owed.
Yes.
And so if you determine that you don't want them to have to pay anything more, then I would just say you find no violation. If you want them to have to pay the penalty fee, I would just say the penalty fee. I wouldn't implement the $75 per day other than giving them a time period to pay the amount if you feel they owe any more money.
One question
yes.
to that gentleman. Does work have to happen now to change this so that it becomes legal?
No, the connection's already made. If these folks were to finalize this at this site, at this point, they would need no additional service at their home. It would just be incorporated into the city's records as now part of the billing.
Okay. I don't know what to make
And
of
we have to call it a penalty?
Well,
That's the way it's
I mean, they've
structured.
paid everything but the penalty, right?
Yeah,
So that's how we look at it, that's how it's delineated
Understood.
in the
22, 23, 24.
fees.
12 months. It's $600 a year.
What is the penalty
3
fee
years.
based upon?
In the code?
Yeah, it was written in the code many years ago.
Say
Gotta
again?
speak into the
It has been
microphone,
written
sorry.
into the code for a long time. I don't know exactly what it is based upon, to be honest with you.
It's just
But
a
it's to
standard
deter
fee.
people from illegally connecting, I know. Is the reality of it.
Yeah, which we did not do. The person who did it still lives in Tarpon Springs. He just doesn't own the property.
We can't address any of that. That's not a case before us. Thank you.
I'm simply trying to determine the basis for the penalty fee.
Yeah.
The penalty exists in the code, Dr. Matei.
Say again?
The code is there, it just addresses illegal hookups to the city service. So the code is saying that if you are determined to be illegally hooked up to the city as part of your coming into compliance, there is a penalty fee of $500. I didn't pull that out of the air, it's just, that's what's in the city code.
And
That's
they've
why
had-
it's,
They've had sewage services for 3 years. They didn't mean to, but that they haven't paid for. So the city has some skin in the game.
Yes.
Rather than
I
what
will
it
tell you
really
this,
has in the
ma'am.
game.
The city has exercised that statute in the past and has charged the full amount of every service that was illegally obtained in cases where the people were culpable of doing the installation.
Ah,
So
thank
that
you.
has happened. So that was part of my recommendation as to consider maybe not, doing the back charges because of the situation that these folks didn't do this.
So we're not being mean, we're just doing what it says in the law.
So it's my understanding that the individuals have come into compliance and they've paid the fees listed here for whatever, impact fees and tap fee and deposit and so forth.
they've paid everything except the $500 penalty.
Now we're gonna say, okay, you did everything you're supposed to do, but we're gonna fine you $500.
Well, I can't put them into compliance until they've paid what the code says has to be paid.
Okay.
But
So could we
actually,
just-
that's you saying that. So that's your option to say, yes or no.
So we can just put them into compliance, make a motion to put them into compliance and waive the fee?
You could.
No, we're not doing that.
You could.
You could. Why don't you do that?
You want to make that motion, or Mr. Weeks, do you want to make a motion?
Want to make a motion, Mr. Weeks?
You've done one, it's perfect.
Your turn.
Say it again. Make a motion to,
Well, does everyone agree with that? Does the board
That's
agree
what we'll
with that?
vote and find out.
I think you'll find, right.
I'll
you'll
make a
find out with the
motion.
vo-
that's
I'll
perfect.
take a stab at it. All right. I move that in case 2, which is case number,
You don't have to read the whole case number
okay,
out.
thanks, Mike. Nancy White and Nancy White Living Trust in violation of City of Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinances, Section 2020, for property located at 533 Doric Court, and assess no fine and waive the penalty fee.
I'll second.
Second.
Let me just stop you. Is that okay, the way the motion is, that it would resolve the case?
If the board waives the penalty fee, then
Okay, just want to make
That's-
sure that we don't have anything that has to come back, okay.
Please, you can clean it up any way you like.
Everybody understood what you meant.
Okay.
Roll call, Bobby.
Roll call.
Mr. Ogle?
Yes.
Dr. Matea?
Aye.
Mrs. Archer?
Yes.
Mrs. Telliar?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Ms. Wade?
No.
Okay, to summarize, you don't have to pay the $500. You've paid everything. You're now in conformity with the requirements of the city code. And
So
you'll be
this
getting
will-
a sewer bill.
Yeah, I do understand that. I will look for it in the next bill. I don't think it's come already. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just as an aside, we've found a lot of other irregularities which we have paid and corrected.
Case listed as C3. Case number 23-8, 00000065, AmherHouses.com, 709 West Bay Shore Drive.
this is just a quick correction. While I was out on vacation, Corporal Boone submitted an affidavit of compliance to you on this property. Nothing has changed. It is still in compliance, but he submitted the wrong affidavit of compliance. He submitted saying there were no fines. There are fines on the property, so I'm just submitting the proper affidavit of compliance. The property is in compliance, but they have fines due.
Same case number?
Everything's the same.
It's just that there is a fine.
Got it.
We're just correcting a clerical issue.
So we're looking at.
Motion 6?
Yes, motion 6.
The fines due on the property are $51,433.99.
So this is just the affidavit.
Official one we've got in here. That Bobby needs that one.
Pass that to Bobby.
Motion 6, if anybody would like to make that.
I move in case number, do I have to say the number?
No, he said no.
No, okay. To find the respondents, Amir House, .com LLC, whatever that is, did correct the violations and did not pay the fine of $51,433.99, and to accept the affidavit of compliance and non-compliance. So the fine is not paid, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I stole it.
Um,
I thought it was part of my notebook and I took it
All
out.
in
So
favor?
we're gonna open a new case on you.
Do a voice vote
I'll
on it.
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
All right, and then we have an addendum to the agenda. Another case came to our attention yesterday. We received an email from a law firm in regards to case 22-TAC0000253. It was a case that was regarding permits, not having proper permitting. I went back and looked into it. They were asking for their case to be reviewed because they felt they had come into compliance on March 1st, or I'm sorry, June 29th, 2023. They had contacted Code Enforcement Officer Stoner at the time, right afterwards, and she had told them, no, you are not in compliance, the permits are not correct, fines kept running. She then left.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of cases we're still on the backlog. So when I looked into this, I don't know, I can't speak to what she was looking at, but from what I observed of their permitting, they were in compliance on June 29th, and we confirmed that with the building department as well, that all the permits were current and done. So I'm submitting an affidavit of compliance for their property. The fines are currently running to this day, which would be 435 days out of compliance at $32,856.78. With this new affidavit of compliance that will put them in compliance June 29th of 2023, that will be 120 days out of compliance for a total of $9,000 in fines. And they'll be moving forward with a fine reduction once this is submitted. So that's why we added this on, because we became aware of it just yesterday and completed the investigation.
So you need us to make them in compliance with fining amounts to be determined?
With fines due of $9,000, if you accept that affidavit of compliance with a date
We're
of
taking
June
your word
29th.
for it because you're the officer that says it is in compliance.
As of June 29th, 2023, they came into compliance, so they were out of compliance a total of 120
And
days.
repeat the amount, please?
$9,000,
Oh, even.
yes.
June 29th, you said, right?
So this will be,
They were not a repeat violator, correct?
It would be number 6 again.
again,
This
except
name
that's
comes up.
O's fine.
I'm going to give you a revised number. I apologize, I didn't leave. So it's $9,146.78 for the affidavit.
And 9146,
78.
okay.
So it would be motion number 6 again.
You need that number. I don't have. And some 68 cents or something.
And they understand that there is still a fine that's
Yes,
coming.
the attorney was they were just simply trying to argue that they wanted the correct fine, not the,
Not this
whatever it
huge
was.
fine.
Yeah.
What did you get for the number, 9,400?
9146.75.
Okay. And
Oh,
June
excuse me,
20
78.
7/8, and June 29th was the date of compliance?
June 29th, 2023.
So here we go. Let's get this show on the road here. All right. I move in case that I don't have to say the number, Ruth B. Wright Trust, to find the respondent, Ruth, as I said, Ruth B. Wright Living Trust, did correct the violation but did not pay the fine amount of $9,146.78, and to accept the affidavit of compliance and non-compliance on the fine, right?
Does anybody second it?
No.
I second.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Bobby?
This is a copy of what's in the book.
Yes.
Mr. Ogle?
Yes.
Dr. Matea?
Aye.
Mrs. Archer?
Yes.
Mrs. Telliar?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
That's
Ms.
this one.
Wade?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
You'll be in contact with them and we'll straighten that out. Thank you.
We're gonna have a lot of those coming forward, we're trying to work with a lot of these older cases that have just been sitting in limbo and trying to get things squared away.
I don't have any other ones on my list.
Nothing else.
Do officially,
And also, just as some of you may have been watching the BOC meetings, and they're working with that new agenda management software. We thought we had the agenda uploaded for this round, and it didn't go through. So clearly, those same kinks are getting to us. Our goal, though, is to begin using that. So if anybody wants to bring in their laptop or tablets, you would be able to be looking at things right there in real time. So just food for thought in the future as that system comes online and we become more familiar with it. Might be more convenient for you.
Get that notice before the next meeting that it's available?
no one in the audience to speak.
No.
Does the board or staff have any other announcements to make?
Just comment that you all had difficult cases today, and you did a great job.
Sorry. Seeing there's no other board business on the agenda, meeting is adjourned. Thank you. We might have missed the minutes.